Welcome to the community meeting. There's really not a tremendous amount to go over today, but there's a lot of exciting stuff. The big thing that we can lead off with is the fact that Brigade 2 has gone GA. The caveat to that, I suppose, or the little asterisk, is that none of the gateways have gone GA yet. So we have a whole bunch of Brigade 2 compatible gateways, but they are themselves still in a beta state. That said, they work very well. We've been using them in production because obviously we eat our own dog food or drink our own champagne, I suppose, is the more fashionable way to say that. But what we're doing right now is one by one, I'm going to get each of those gateways to a stable state and release them each as GA. So each will have its own accompanying blog post and so forth and so on. We had our CNCF on demand webinar that very conveniently, just purely by accident or quirk of fate, came out the day after we went GA. So it was just like the most perfect timing possible. There were, I think last I looked, at least like 150 views on that.
And I just checked that webinar today and it has like less than a day of viewing left.
Yes, so it goes until the 8th.
Be sure to follow the link in the meeting notes, which you can probably stop sharing at this point since we, otherwise we just don't get to see anything else.
Okay. All right. So let's see. So yes, you're correct that stops on the 8th, but I have already cross-posted the webinar to the Brigade YouTube channel, and I have refrained from advertising it because I would have preferred that people go and see the official CNCF webinar, etc. But now that once it becomes unavailable through CNCF, I will start advertising that we have cross-posted it to our own channel as well. So speaking of the YouTube channel, I started work on a Brigade in 5 minutes series. I've been talking about doing this for a while, but short content is easier to consume and thus more likely to be consumed, something that people can watch, quickly on their lunch break or while they're drinking their morning coffee or whatever. It's, a little bit easier to deal with than like a, 45-minute webinar. It's also easier for me to produce short content. So I've been working on that. And it means I'm having to do a lot more video editing and such, which is not my favorite thing in the world to do, but I'm finally starting to get better at it. We have the GitHub Gateway closing in on GA. I mentioned that. I mentioned earlier that we would be doing those one by one. The GitHub Gateway is the first. And I submitted a formula a few days ago for installing the Brigade CLI via Homebrew. This is my first time writing a Homebrew formula, and it was both fun and frustrating. But yeah, it was cool. I learned a lot. So hopefully that gets merged soon. They already gave some feedback, and I already acted on that feedback. So hopefully that will get done soon. I'm actually waiting for that to get done before I cut the first episode of Brigade in 5 minutes, because I want the installation process to, use Homebrew, or at least the Mac-based installation process, that is. I also learned recently that Homebrew works on Linux. Never knew that before, but it does.
Going back to one of the surveys in which I was surprised that more than 50% of people are on Windows. Have you looked at Winget, which is, I think, the default package manager by now on Windows?
Winget. I wasn't familiar with Winget. I knew about NuGet.
NuGet is for .NET packages that you import in your development projects, and Winget is the thing that you use to install MSIs and executables and CLI tools and all that.
Hold on, I misspoke. I did not mean NuGet. I meant Chocolatey.
Yeah, Chocolate is an alternative. I think Winget is the official Windows first party.
Okay, so that's good to know. I'm actually going to look into that then. Now, if you're using the Windows subsystem for Linux, I assume that's not applicable. Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I will look into that. I mean, for people who are using Windows subsystem for Linux, is there like a popular choice for package manager there, or it's just the package manager for the distribution you're using?
It's for a distro. I think my assumption is that most people use some Debian based thing.
Yeah.
So probably having an apt, at least instructions on how to do that from apt might help. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think getting our software into like the default like apt repositories is probably not going to happen. So it would be like we'd have to maintain our own repositories. So I will for sure look into it. I think it's worth looking into, but I can't make any promises. Okay, so the few other things that we have, I know that both Ronan and Vaughn have done some work on a refresh of the static website. So I think Ronan's doing, most of the development work, and Vaughn has contributed some content updates to it. I was hoping to hear some updates from them on that today, but I think they had a meeting conflict. And the Cron Gateway, we have Jorge, I'm afraid I'm going to mispronounce the last name, Arturo. He's one of the cloud developer advocates at Microsoft, and he's been helping a little bit here and there. He's produced some content that's been posted to our YouTube channel, and he's been wanting to get more involved. He has mentioned a few times his desire to create some kind of cron gateway. I haven't looked at it, but I know that he has made progress on it. So I'm probably going to take a look at that today and see how that work is coming along. And I think that's pretty much it. We were going to reserve some time for questions from the community, but pretty much everybody here is a maintainer or a PM or something. Bridget has a question.
I do have a question actually, because it's exciting that we have a V2 release, and you talk about like, oh, the gateways are coming along. And I kind of wonder, what's your call to action for if somebody is taking a look at this now and wants to jump in? Where should they go to contribute if they're thinking, but I want to do things for Brigade? Is Brigade V2 done and there's nothing for me to do? Like, where are the best places for people to look if they want to start doing something?
Yeah, so I feel like at the moment, the best place to contribute is not to Brigade itself, but rather to the creation of new gateways. Even I would even be happy to see people create proprietary gateways if it helps them. It's very easy to create new gateways because we've got a great SDK, or multiple SDKs actually, because we have SDKs for Go as well as JavaScript/TypeScript. And there was going to be a Rust SDK, but I don't know, Radu. Maybe we'll finish that up eventually. But the the point is it's really easy to create gateways now. So what would be really cool is to hear from people who say, hey, Brigade, I'd love to use Brigade because I want to automate such and such, but it doesn't integrate with such and such. So I'm going to go build that. And I would be personally very happy to help people who are doing that sort of activity. So if anybody wants to hunt us down in the Slack channel or elsewhere, you can get a little bit of free consulting right now, I guess. So yeah, that's really the best place to start.
Do you think it would make sense to do a blog post of just like kind of like things to like start people or like resources for people to look at as they start doing new gateways? Just like one place where, they can reference to get started.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I can definitely take that as an action item. And I think also that would be a very good topic for an episode of Brigade in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think I think the first few episodes have to tackle much more basic subject matter before we tackle that. But yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And also somewhat related to that, I should mention that I did create a nice new URL. You can go to quickstart.brigade.sh and it takes you right to our quick start.
Nice.
Also, I created slack.brigade.sh and it takes you right to our Slack channel. I did those because when I did the webinar, the existing URLs were just too unwieldy. So I wanted to put something, that was easy to remember and short and succinct. And so I created those.
Okay, very cool. Okay, so what do you think is next specifically for this call, but also for the very next thing that you have on your horizon for Brigade in general? Specifically for this call, I'm looking at the calendar and thinking, are you doing this December 21st or are people going to see you again January 4th? Like, what's the plan for that, first of all?
Okay, so 2 weeks from today is the 21st. That is the week of Christmas. So I believe we will cancel that occurrence. I'll make a note of that on the HackMD document where we keep the agenda and so forth. I will also probably tweet about that. And thank you, by the way, Karen, for making me a co-maintainer of the Twitter account.
Teammate, yeah.
Yeah, so I would probably tweet about that. I know it sounds weird to tweet about, hey, we're not doing such and such on this date, but just the fact that we're not doing such and such on that date calls attention to the fact that we do ordinarily do that and that we would like people to come. It's like no such thing as bad press kind of thing. So yeah, I'll tweet about that. I'll make sure the word gets out that there's no meeting on the 21st. So that would put the next occurrence of this. Oh no, that would be New Year's week, wouldn't it?
That's fine. I think the Tuesday, January 4th, people are generally, coming back from the holidays.
Okay. All right. So we'll plan on that being the next occurrence of this meeting. So that takes care of the question of what's next for this meeting. As for the question of what's next for Brigade, all of my effort right now is going into finishing up the Github Gateway and getting the Brigade in 5 minutes series off the ground.
I am just looking over at the roadmap because I remember I was looking at that earlier, and now I'm just looking at the Okay, so would you say the milestones are the best place for the milestone for 2.1 is the best place for people to kind of look for, current stuff?
For Brigade itself?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep. So that's, I would say we're not at any point yet where we're really serious about a 2.1, but anything that isn't a bug fix for sure is getting queued up for an eventual 2.1. Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have any questions?
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. And besides thanking you for coming today, thank you for all the support in getting this done. It's been a team effort. So thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
All right.
Thanks.
Next time.